South Sudan is the world's newest country. It broke away from Sudan in 2011 as a result of civil war. 2 years later, South Sudan is in the middle of a civil war of their own. The war has caused bloodshed, death, famine, and has displaced more than 2 million new refugees into neighboring countries.
The South Sudanese refugees walk a long and treacherous path into dangerous, war-torn territories. They walk through the seemingly endless savannas and deserts of South Sudan just to create a better life for themselves and their family. They have nowhere to go but out of South Sudan. Their hope is running out with every step they take. They hope that salvation is somewhere on the horizon.
For many, refugee camps are their new home. The displaced hope to find a place where they can rest with food, water, and shelter, and can prepare for the future. This is their first step in changing their lives. When they arrive, they are brought to torn tents, below quality living conditions, and no future in sight. Now, they are safe from bullets, but the conditions that they live in now are not adequate for what refugees truly need.
The UNHCR provides tents for refugee families. However, the tents are easily destroyed, not sustainable, provide little protection from the elements, and are susceptible to fires and other disasters. Refugees will live in these tents for long periods of time. These tents are not suitable for housing these refugees. Even something as simple as a harsh gust of wind can render a tent unusable.
Because the lifestyle of a refugee demands change, it is important for the refugees to have a future. Many will continue to wander to try and find a safe haven. Many will travel north through the Sahara Desert, where they are met by the Mediterranean Sea. Many will cross, and many will perish. Others will wander aimlessly until they are in a country where they will be accepted, but most of the time they are not accepted, and the governments cannot provide assistance to non-citizens.
Asylum is not an option for many refugees. It is incredibly hard for refugees to apply for asylum because the resources are simply just not available in these camps. Technology is limited, and it makes it incredibly hard for a refugee to find a new home in a country willing to take them. For many, the only way into a country is illegally. The world needs to think differently about refugee camps. Refugees around South Sudan are in dire need of change. They cannot sustain their current state of living, although there is a solution.
The concept of refugee airports will fix these issues. They are not airports as in planes touching down, picking up refugees and sending them off to an unknown land, but airports as in the sense of creating a better life in the camps and getting refugees out of them.
The UNHCR, who is already in charge of many South Sudanese refugee camps, will redirect funds that would normally go to these camps to create better opportunities for refugees. First, the already used practice of Bamba Chakula, or get your food in Swahili. This is practiced in a select few South Sudanese refugee camps in neighboring countries. And Kalobayi, a South Sudanese refugee camp in Kenya, has built markets around the idea of self-grown food, and the refugees would get cash assistance that would give refugees more food depending on how much they help grow. This has worked in Kalobayi and would be incredibly easy to implement in camps surrounding South Sudan. All that would be needed is some seeds and basic tools. The practice of Bamba Chakula would save money for food that could be directed in other uses.
Another way to help refugees is with their housing situation. In Colombia, there is a startup called Conceptos Plasticas that has devoted their purpose to providing cheap yet efficient housing. The houses are made out of recycled plastic and rubber. They work almost like Lego blocks and can be built by any refugee living in a camp. They are easy to build, easy to maintain, and easy to purchase and deliver. Refugees will put the houses together and will live in their new creations. The funding for delivery and manufacturing would not only come from the startup itself, but would also come from redirected funds from the UNHCR. These houses are fireproof and earthquake-proof and will last for hundreds of years because they are made of plastic and rubber. In this video, you can see the multiple ways that conceptos plásticos are used. Another idea is that of the Refugee Info Bus. Refugee Info Bus, or RIB, is a box truck that is filled with computers, internet access, Wi-Fi, charging stations, and lawyers. The main idea of these buses is to help increase the standard of living while in camps, but also to get refugees out of the camps. The lawyers are trained in helping people find asylum. They will travel to camps and help refugees use technology and also help them find asylum in new countries, so that way they are out of the camps. This will also help combat overcrowding, which is a major issue in major camps around South Sudan. The RIBs will help give refugees the future that they deserve and desperately need. These RIBs will take redirected funds from the UNHCR to help create more buses and to help them get to camps around South Africa. The last course of action is to help refugees get out. Across the desert and across the savannas of Africa, there are many dangers, including people who try to do harm to traveling refugees. UN peacekeepers are a global peacekeeping force developed by the UN that can easily be placed along traveling paths in between refugee camps and also to different areas where refugees have sought asylum. Setting UN peacekeepers up in these areas would not only help the refugees with their chance of survival, but would also increase protection for all refugees that are traveling. These ideas can come together and create something really special for South Sudanese refugees. These solutions are cheap, reliable, easy to produce, and easier to implement. The implementation of Bamba Chakula will help reduce the cost of food and will also give the refugees experience with growing food. The Conceptos Plásticos not only help refugees living in shabby tents, but will also help the environment. The refugee infobuses will help relieve the stress of the host countries and will also provide a long-term solution to overcrowding camps. The UN peacekeepers will help direct refugees into new camps and will provide a long-term solution to overcrowding and dangerous paths. Refugee airports are the future of refugee camps in and around South Sudan.